Hey, John here. So in this one, we're not gonna do a lick per se, but this will help you to play a lot of different arpeggios much cleaner. One of the biggest problems that I had learning how to do the sweep picking stuff, and I also seen this with tons of students, is doing the barring correctly. All right, and what I mean is if you have an E major arpeggio, for example, so we go 7, 11, 9, 9, 9, and then 7 and 12. So unless you want to really complicate your life by doing something like that, which is I've seen, I think Jason Richardson talks about he prefers to do that whenever he can, but he also says there's shapes that he cannot play without barring, and you can absolutely learn barring. I did it, and if you look at Frank Gambale, he bars all over the place. He even does like 4 strings with just his pinky, so that's like next level. So, but I think it's a very important technique to have in your toolkit, because if you're trying to finger everything individually, it's going to be very tricky, especially if you go up here and frets get really small. So what I'm going to show you today is an exercise that I got it from Frank Gambale, but I also saw John Petrucci show the same thing in one of his wild stringdom columns from Guitar World back in the day. So this exercise has some history. It just basically what you want to do: pick any fret, let's say the 5th fret in this case, and then you're gonna start on the G string here. You can also do it at 2 strings at a time, but I think 3 strings, if you can do that, 2 strings will feel very easy. So you do like this, start on the G string, and the reason why you want to start on the lowest pitch string here is so you can get a feel for exactly where on the finger you need to place your finger when you start on the E string and go back down. I'm going to show you what I mean. So if you do that with the 3rd finger as well, then you can see, okay, wherever that is on your finger, that's where you want to plunk the finger down, because otherwise you might overshoot it a bit or not do enough, so you kind of don't even reach the 3rd string. So what I'm talking about is doing this. As you can see here, I'm helping by pushing my, basically pushing my wrist forward a bit, right? So I try to do this as much as I can, but different people have different abilities to do this. So you don't need to rely on that only. So you can help by doing this. The trick here is to not get strings ringing, and I'm going to show you what you can do about that as well. But as with anything that I sort of preach when it comes to this stuff, is practice slowly enough so you're in full control, you don't make any mistakes. Because the trick with sweep picking is not the speed. You already have the speed in the right hand. It's about getting the left hand to cooperate, right? And you need to do that by doing a shit ton of good reps at a slow tempo. So if you do that, you'll find that you naturally can play this faster and cleaner as you go on, as long as you keep all the technical details in mind here. And in the right hand, it just entails doing rest strokes. And that's basically all I'm going to say about that here, because it's not really about that. It's more about the fretting hand articulation. But anyway, so you have this exercise where you go index finger, 3rd finger. I used to do this exercise at around 60 BPMs, 1 note per click, so 1 note per second. So like, and that helped a lot. And I would use a timer for that as well. So this timer, not this timer actually, but it's a very similar timer to this. And put it on 5 minutes, because this is super boring to do, but it's so beneficial. So when you go to play those arpeggios, it will be way easier. So that's the idea behind the exercise. Now, if you do this, 1, 3, you might notice there's one problem here, and that's I always go up as I'm doing ascending low to high pitch wise. when I go up with my index finger, and then I do the opposite, the third finger. And obviously, when you play an arpeggio, and use this kind of technique, you want to be able to go up and down. So you need to reverse this as well. So the first exercise is just going up with the index finger. And then you do that for X amount of time. I'm going to show you a thing that I like to do when it comes to this. And then you just reverse it. So you just go up. Okay, so that's the exercise. And then you want to do the same thing with 2 and 4 as well. And then you want to move it to the middle strings, lower string. Do the same exercises on all strings. But if you don't want to spend a lot of time on this initially, I would make sure that I can do at least this one and this one, because those are the most common when it comes to actual arpeggio shapes. So this arpeggio, which is no one's favorite, we'll use the index finger like that, and then obviously like I did with the major, get that. So those 2 string sets are very important. Now, I don't bar that much with my pinky, but in certain arpeggio shapes it will show up. And I think it's better to just work on it as you're doing, you know, working on the second finger anyway. So, and you know, I just think it's good to be a bit diligent here, because then when you need to bar with the pinky, you're already ahead of the game, so you don't sit there like, shit, now I skipped that, so now I need to like really work on that. That sucks. So just do it instead. So again, we have like the A and B version, like we call this A, and then the B version, and then you have the same thing with the other 2 fingers. So that's it, and I suggest using a timer, and maybe since we have 4 exercises here, maybe you do, I don't know, 3 minutes per exercise, so you have 12 minutes in total. Or if you think that's way too much, maybe do 1 minute each, 2 minutes, probably a good idea. Then you would have like an 8-minute workout. So you just want enough so you get enough good reps. And I really like to use the looping method when I do this. And what that is that you can apply this to any loop really. So a loop would be, that's a loop, the Paul Gilbert exercise, for example. And these are obviously loops because you can just play them indefinitely. And what you do, you number the notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And then you have, since it's a loop, you can start on each note in the loop, so you get 6 individual loops. So if I start from the second finger, rhythmically it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, right? And then start on the third note. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, and so on. So you have these variations, and this helps so much with the articulation and everything, so don't skip that. So just turn the timer on to do the A version, right? So you start on the first one, you do maybe two good reps, and always make sure you start and stop on the first note. So you're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, right? So that will be 1 rep. So let's say you do 2. That was clean and perfect. You go on to the next one, and so on. And then just keep looping that until the timer goes off. And then you do the same thing with this one. Now this is 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's why it's important to sort of number the notes first, so you can see it. But that's basically it. So let's say you do then 2 minutes for each variation. You will get to go around that loop a few times. But another thing that's really good to do as well, if you find that it's hard to not get that, some overlap, because that, even though your hands might be synchronized, that's still a mistake in my book, right? So what you can do is to cut the notes short. You go. So what I'm doing here, I'm just releasing the pressure of each note. Then next loop. And so on. This doesn't sound very good, but you can still hear the quality of the note, even though it's shorter. And this helps your articulation like nothing else. It's very, very, very useful. And it's something that Frank Gamali, again, master of sweeps, talks about as well, that articulation comes mostly from the fretting hand. So don't skip that. And a good thing about this cutting the notes short is that you kind of learn to relax, because what I do here, I play the note, I'm relaxing, I'm still on the string, and then I play the next note. So you're kind of teaching yourself to relax at the same time. So it's a great way to find the correct pressure that you need, and also you get that articulation, you know, like a bonus, but that's like the main thing. So give this a try. You have the tabs for this in the practice room, and I saw someone commented like, oh, they're not free tabs, but they are free tabs. It's just that when you're in the practice room, if you're on the phone, you need to you have the video at the bottom of the post, and then you need to scroll to the left or right, and then you will have the tab right next to it. So just in case you don't find it, it's there. So don't worry about that. I wouldn't say that shit is free if it's not free. So go check that out, and see you in the next one.